I've had contractors call me who haven't been paid, threatening to pull out the things they've installed if the developer doesn't pay them on time. Buyers are living in temporary housing because the unit they're under contract for was supposed to be ready 4 months ago, and of course it's not ready. Other than getting their rate lock extensions paid for by the developer, which are nearing $19,000, they have little recourse outside of exiting the deal altogether, which leaves them without a home. Their entire basement flooded. The developer didn't use overhead plumbing and didn't tie into the drain tile properly. No good way to fix that. There was no insulation between them and their neighbor above, so after $30,000 with a special sound attenuation company, the sound is basically the same. There could be concrete floors between the unit, but as soon as you start cutting holes into the drywall ceilings, you create entry points for sound intrusion. The only way to escape sound going between the units is to live in a high-rise or live on the top floor. Early in my career, I worked with a developer who spent over 4 years to complete a building. By year 2, he fired me because I wasn't able to sell an unfinished product that had every interested party wondering what was taking so long and would it ever be complete. 5 years later, he still hasn't sold all the units, and he's on the 3rd or 4th broker at this stage. I'm convinced that if it wasn't for the pandemic, he would have never sold any of the units. For the majority of my career, I've sold new construction. It's one of my favorite things to do. I love working with the builder to find the right location, optimize floor plans, determine pricing, and decide what the building will look like. What I don't like about new construction is the delayed timelines, supply chain restraints, broken promises, labor shortages, and the uncertainty that can arise. It's been a 15-year learning experience watching different buildings being built, from standard-sized lots to 32-unit buildings and single-family homes in between. New construction has taught me so much about what differentiates a quality build versus something basic, lackluster, and a potential money pit. I have worked with many different developers and have learned their styles, priorities, and process. I'm often sought after by buyers looking to purchase new construction who need a higher level of experience and expertise than is found with your average realtor. The goal of this video is to give a comprehensive overview of what buying new construction looks like and how you can best prepare yourself when approaching it. In the description is a link to a list of every question you need to ask when buying new construction. It's my free gift to you. I plan on covering the following sections, but before I do, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you're notified of our weekly videos. Now, we'll be covering what are the differences between a used home and new construction, what are some of the reasons people buy new construction, what options, upgrades, or customizations you can expect, what's important to consider when buying new construction, can you negotiate the price on new construction homes, is the premium worth it, what's included in the home warranty, what options, upgrades, or customizations can I expect, do I need a home inspection on a new construction home, how is financing affected, what is different, how much of a tax is going to be, the new construction contract, space, the closing, the natural seasoning of the home, finishes, and developer homework. Before I get started, did you notice I called it a used home? I heard this once while I was representing a buyer on new construction and thought it was genius from a sales perspective. But don't compare this to a car or let that term get to you. A home is a home, and sometimes a home that has already been lived in is better than new construction. Let me explain. You're going to be the first person living in this home. Hopefully, you'll be the first person to christen the toilet. In the same vein, you're going to be the same person to do a lot of things at that home. And naturally, that's going to lead to finding something that wasn't finished or corrected or perfectly executed. Don't be alarmed, this is natural. There are literally tens of thousands of decisions that must be made in a home, and even with the best inspector, you're not going to discover everything that's wrong with it until you're actually living inside it. That is one of the reasons you're going to receive a 1-year warranty with the property. If you're purchasing the new construction while it's being built, your inspection and walkthrough are going to be one and the same. But if it's already built and you're buying it then, you're going to have an inspection, and during that time, you're going to blue tape everything that needs to be repaired or touched up in addition to what's in the inspection report. These can be uneven paint, cabinets that need adjusting, floor scratches, etc. Now here's a caveat that's worth writing down. Most likely, the general contractor and not the developer is going to be responsible for correcting those items. That shouldn't give you pause though, because the developer isn't the entity that built it. They're just the ones who put the project together. They established the financing, acquired the land, got the realtor, they put the whole deal in one place. The GC knows the property best and is likely the best person to make these corrections. Here's another item to consider. If there is a serious issue and you have to sue the developer, you will likely be unfruitful in the pursuit because the developer is going to build all of this as an LLC that will have zero assets once the project is closed out. When you're buying a home that someone has lived in before, you're not going to experience any of this. You're going to have an inspection, likely agree on a dollar amount in lieu of any corrections, and you're going to close and move in. There won't be any recourse after closing. If you didn't discover a problem, it's going to be your responsibility to deal with it. What are some of the reasons people buy new construction? While on the topic of new construction, there are going to be varying answers for smaller buildings, generally 3 to 9 units, single-family homes, larger 50-plus unit developments, and mid-sized projects between 10 and 49 units. A big reason for new construction is the avoidance of problems with the property over the next 5 years. Another reason is to pick the unit, view, floor level, and be the first person to live in the unit. I've had clients from other cultures who insisted on buying new construction because there wasn't any negative energy or juju at the property. Another motivation is customization. New construction is fun because you're buying the ability to pick things out. What options, upgrades, or customizations can you expect? Before we get into that, smash that like button if you haven't done it already for me. Thank you, I really appreciate it. Now, up to 3 paint colors usually. Different builders will have different policies on how many colors per room, accent walls, and what is to be used for base and trim. But if it's incomplete and hasn't been painted, you can hope that they'll give you the ability to have 3 different colors, your choice of cabinet hardware for kitchens and bathrooms too. Unless your cabinet fronts are gripless, the developer will likely hold off on picking out or installing the hardware because they want to give you the opportunity to customize. They want to make sure that the hole pattern are what you like because once the cabinet is screwed into, there's no coming back from that. And with cabinets taking 3 to 6 months at the moment, no one has time to wait for one to arrive. When they do this, they will give you an allowance of X number of dollars per pull and then ask you to give them to them. Then at the closing, you'll get reimbursed for your receipt. Do not lose that receipt. Another way to handle this is to send them the link and they buy it and take care of everything. My preferred style of cabinet pull is no hardware at all. And if the cabinet fronts, the tops can have a 45-degree angle, even better. Countertops, backsplash material, style, and design. Keep in mind that all of this varies based on the stage of construction. If countertops aren't installed, you may be able to pick the stone, go to the yard, and pick the actual slab yourself if you're lucky. In addition to that, you'll be able to pick out the backsplash. If that's the case, you'll be allotted a certain price per square foot to pick out tile. If you like a clean look, consider running the countertops up. That's the best way to do it. If you want a real clean look, consider 3/4 inch stone instead of 1 1/4 inch stone. That's trending, you're gonna see that, it's keeping costs down. Whatever you do, don't have a short backsplash with an additional backsplash behind it. When you have the countertop and then the backsplash above that, never let this happen, it's not good design. Now to closets. California closets. Most closets are delivered barren, without rods or shelves, so you can get the opportunity to customize and build them out exactly as you see fit. In my last place, I outfitted a closet that fit 94 pairs of shoes. Lighting. In most developments, another opportunity for customization is the type of lighting that's installed into the ceiling or occasionally the wall. In the middle of many rooms are junction boxes, often referred to as J boxes. This is where a light fixture or fan can be installed. Because the lighting is so specific, this detail is often left up to the buyer, with the developer providing a certain dollar amount per J box. Sometimes they provide you with nothing. When that's the case, they'll provide you with reasonable installation, as long as it's dropped off within 2 weeks of the closing. Bathroom accessories. You didn't know what they were called, but you know what they are. The robe hooks, towel rods, those large circles with hand towels, and the toilet paper holder are all other items that add another level of customization. These will work like the other items in terms of credits and can be a real job to do if the palette isn't the same in every space. I've had to find matte black, brushed silver, polished nickel, and champagne gold bathroom hardware before, and it was a real chore. We're talking for one property. The thing you can be certain won't be included are window treatments. These are too personal and specific to taste, so developers won't have any part in choosing or installing them. That's for your designer or for you. If you get in early enough, you may be able to make floor plan changes like moving walls, but most developers don't want to deviate from their plan much. It increases cost and time on the project and just complicates everything. It also means that your unit might be the last unit to be completed. Other people want that location because it works well for them. Some want the newest technology, sustainable materials, and plain peace of mind that there's nothing they have to worry about. Low HOA is another popular reason. If it's a new construction condo, the HOA is going to be artificially low compared to a used condo. The developer wants to market the property with the lowest HOA possible, and because it's new construction, the building's elements are going to be newer and require less maintenance and upkeep than an older building. One might find an issue with this because the monthly assessment may not cover anything outside of what is planned. But what if something happens that isn't expected? That brings us to the world of special assessments. There can be a surprising number of special assessments in new construction because something wasn't done properly and all the owners need to correct it. All of a sudden you realize the north side of the building wasn't sealed and the association has to come up with $15,000 to finish it. Another reason could be that the building owners want something more than the bare bones design that the developer delivered the building in. Maybe they vote to put in furniture, grills, art installments, etc. One advantage of buying into a pre-existing condo association is that the current owner and your new neighbors have created a war chest by contributing to the reserve fund every month, time and time again. And you get to move into that financially stable building from day one. Unit selection. One of my favorite parts of new construction is the ability to pick the unit you want. I have kicked myself time and time again for passing up opportunities to pick the first unit in the building. By doing this, you have first dibs and can select the best unit possible. Sometimes that unit comes with a premium because more than one person wants it, but oftentimes you get the best deals being the first or last person in. I've sold many units at discounts I never thought the developer would have considered. In real estate finance, the developer is the last person to be paid, the bank who gives the loan, and then the investors are paid out. When everything is said and done, the developer is often waiting on the final unit to sell before they get to realize any part of their profit. That is one way to get a great deal. This can happen to the most seasoned developer as well as the newbies. It has no reflection on the project. One thing you'll want to avoid at all costs is a developer who isn't really a developer, but an opportunistic person trying their hand at building for the first time in their life. This is a no-go. You don't want to be part of someone's experiment. You can catch up with them on the next project or maybe the 10th, but building is a learning process and something that really follows the principles of Kaizen. Don't be anyone's guinea pig. At this point, you may be asking yourself, why would I give away all this material information, everything that I've learned since being licensed in 2009? Wouldn't that allow you to go out and do this on your own? If you're anything like me, you like to hire professionals to do the best job for you so you can focus on being the best at what you do well. With that in mind, I created this content because appearances can be deceiving. There are over 60,000 licensed agents in Illinois and around 40,000 in the Chicagoland area. With the way the market's shifting, I'm sure that's going to go down. But how many charlatans do you think are in that list? There are a lot of people who can lease the most expensive car and get fitted for a custom suit or two, but there are few who can really walk the walk. I'm giving you this information so you can educate yourself while simultaneously demonstrating my skill set, so when the time comes for you to buy or sell your next home, you hire me to protect you as your real estate advocate. What's important to consider when buying new construction. You're buying a new house, not the model home. Walking through the model, you'll see every available upgrade. You'll see fully tiled walls, upgraded shower fixtures, shower niches, appliances, heated floors, full backsplashes, wide plank floors, waterfall edges, beautiful cabinet hardware, and many other things that are options. Don't ever forget that you're walking through the model, not your unit. It's vital that when you're ready to write an offer, you and your agent ask direct questions about what is included and what is an upgrade, and spell it out on the contract. Timing of new construction. How long is it going to take to build? If you're looking at an empty lot with permits already pulled, it's going to take at least 6 months and more likely a year. If the property is already finished, then you can close as soon as your mortgage is approved. If you're able to walk through the property and it's drywalled, the building is probably 3 to 6 months away. If it's only studs, but you can still walk it, it's likely 4 to 8 months. The most important thing to get a handle on is when the property is going to be finished. Every builder builds differently and at contrasting speeds. I've seen 5 condos finish in 6 months, and I've seen 1 single family home take more than a year. The developer is going to pay interest on their loan every month until it's paid back, so they are wildly motivated to get the project completed. That being said, whatever date you get, pad it by a few months for safety. I've been in a debacle with a project over the last couple of months that's responsible for all these gray hairs in my beard. The developer ordered cabinets from a company we've been doing business with for over a decade. Those cabinets were late. To be fair, just like everything else has been due to supply chain restraints, but when we finally received them 2 months late, they weren't what we ordered. We had to make a hard call, deliver these inferior cabinets and tell everyone that's what they agreed to, or tell the buyers that we don't want to stand behind this product and instead would prefer to send them back and order new, superior cabinets that would take 3 months longer to get there. This moved our March delivery date to July, and it's nearly September and people are still unhappy because we're not finished. That is an understatement. People were livid, but it was still the best decision in the end. Now, if you're buying from paper on a larger project that is yet to be built, you may never get the property you're under contract for. Here's why. I'm working on a 12-unit project right now. It's brand new construction, and the association will not have any covenants, declarations, or bylaws that prohibit short-term rentals. You know, Verbo, Airbnb. I have to put 33% of the building under contract before a bank will give the developer financing to construct the building. If I don't succeed, the building won't be built, and every ounce of energy and effort I put into this project will equate to nothing but experience. 1000 South Michigan is a property I toured years ago when they were set up for sales. They couldn't get the buy-in, so they were converted to apartments, and last year I saw they changed the design of their building altogether. It's been what feels like a decade, and nothing has happened on that site. The website doesn't even work anymore. That is the fear of buying something from paper that isn't an A+ location and reasonable pricing. The benefits of buying into a project like this is pre-construction pricing and all the things I mentioned before. I remember when Trump Tower was going up and the original parties involved had friends and family pricing. They were flipping contracts in that building before it was ever complete because the interest was so high, and there were preferred floor plans and orientations that sold quickly. Then 2009 came around and it took years to sell off the final units. Nowadays, when you see so many cranes in the sky, the majority of them will be apartment buildings. Most investors and banks are unwilling to participate in a project that doesn't have a guaranteed sellout plan. Apartments are more attractive because of the perpetuity of cash flow as opposed to condos, which have a one-time payout, but only if the building sells out. If you look around Chicago at larger scale projects, most of the buildings constructed within the last 5 years still have units available that haven't been sold. Many of these builders won't even make public how many units are under contract and how many have been sold. Think about that. I'm John GRAFFT, one of Chicago's most knowledgeable and experienced real estate agents. Since I've looked like this, I've helped over 700 people find or sell their home. I'm here to give you raw and real advice about the Chicago real estate market. When you're ready, I want to work for you to enter or exit the market successfully. Can you negotiate the price on new construction homes? The short answer is sort of. Every property is different, and based on the interest level of the project, you may have more play in the numbers. Basically, if you're looking at an intimate West Loop building being sold from paper, you're gonna have fewer opportunities to negotiate than if you're looking at a finished Humboldt Park condo that's been sitting for 3 months. Regardless of the property, you're going to have a better outcome negotiating on things rather than price. Developers want the highest possible top number. They want their sales price to beat anything like it in the area. They are very sensitive about their price per square foot because it is going to set the tone for all of their sales in the project or other sales they may have coming up in the neighborhood. Further, they don't want the buyer from 3B bragging about the great bargain they got to the buyer from 3C and realizing they paid way more just because their agent didn't negotiate hard enough or didn't push or didn't know which buttons to push. Another way prices get manipulated are closing costs. Here's the example. The asking price is $1 million and you get the developer to agree to $975,000, Before the contract is signed, he may ask you to inflate the price by 3%, the highest number acceptable to lenders, and credit you back the difference. The difference of $29,250 is going to be yours to be used to reduce your closing costs or buy upgrades with, and as long as the lender approves the sales price, the developer is going to be able to publish a sale at $1,004,250, making it look like he got above asking price for the property, signaling to future buyers, his investors, and the public that the price per square foot was higher than intended. This is going to work in your favor though, because whoever is going to buy the property when you go to sell it is likely going to look at your property and use that as a base for negotiation. It's going to help them determine their offer. The price you paid for the property shouldn't have any bearing on the price you're selling it for, but our brains fail to make that connection most of the time. Most people look at what you bought and work from there. Outside of putting the offer in on the new construction home and asking for a credit, another great technique is to negotiate on things. If the developer is large enough, they're likely going to have a list of upgrades for you to choose from. And since you likely fell in love with a model, the model is going to contain all of those things. The list can get large and extravagant, but the developer is going to be more likely to do those for you given those upgrades aren't published with the price. People don't know what you have in the home. There are exceptions though. If the building is sitting and the work is already done, the upgrades are more of a hassle than a bargaining chip. If they're building new and you change your backsplash before it's installed, that's not a big deal. But if the flooring is already installed and you want to do something different, then they have to tear out the existing work that they paid for and put in the new work. Depending on the stage of construction, it may be easier to negotiate on price than things. Have you hit that like button yet? Smash that. Is the premium worth it? That's a hard question to answer. If you're buying in an up-and-coming area and you're going to stay in that property for at least 5 years or at least hold on to it, I say absolutely. If you're buying in an inflated market in a very desirable area, you may have to hold on to that for a while before the unit has appreciated to a point that makes sense. In a normal real estate market, not like the one we've experienced over the last few years, you're likely to see 3% appreciation in your property. The fees to sell a property are 8 to 10% in Chicago, and that doesn't include prepping your home for sale. And if it's been more than 5 years, then you may have to do upgrades depending on the scale of change in design trends. If that's the case, you're looking at renovating bathrooms and kitchens and then adding around $50,000 to the mix. And then if you're in a condo versus a single family home, just because your brain's gonna wanna do this, you're gonna wanna add up HOA costs because you've paid them every month you've been there. But what people don't equate into these equations are the enjoyments of living there and the lack of maintenance or the responsibility you had to endure during your time at the property. Remember, this is your home. You're paying for home, not investment necessarily. What's included in the home warranty? More like what isn't included in the warranty. The 1-year warranty will actually be a limited warranty. I have included examples available in the show notes of over a dozen new construction contracts to highlight that isn't included. Here's an overview. Caulking, faucets, toilet adjustments, door-to-door frame adjustments, nail pops or cracks in walls, terraces, decks, balconies, boundary walls, or any other improvements not part of the dwelling unit itself. Flooring, remember, I took these out of actual contracts. Any damages caused by condensation, that one I agree with. Any damage caused by a homeowner's improper use or failure to properly maintain and operate a humidifier or HVAC system, that's why the condensation makes sense, which may occur during seasonal weather changes. Appliances, any work included in a separate contract existing between the purchaser and a particular subcontractor covering any phase of construction and also including extras and or changes to the dwelling unit as provided for in amendments to the purchase contract. That wouldn't make sense. That's like hiring an outside contractor. Any defect which does not result in actual loss or damage, come on. Cracks. Concrete walls, ceilings, floors, balconies, terraces, and decks can develop cracks due to characteristics of expanding and contracting of concrete, shrinkage, or settling. There is no known method of eliminating this condition. Do not apply salt in any form or exterior concrete. By allowing salt to accumulate, you are subjecting the concrete to pitting, scaling, and corrosion. Noise. Warrantor does not warrant the level of noise transmission between the dwelling units within the building or from the outside of the building. You can't make this stuff up. What options, upgrades, or customizations can you expect? Floor plan. Most likely you will not be able to make floor plan changes to the unit. But depending on the stage of construction, you may be able to make changes that don't involve support walls. This can be a great opportunity to turn a 4-bedroom into a gracious 3 or to increase closet sizes. Oftentimes, if buyer-provided light fixtures are given to the developer within a reasonable time frame before the closing, they will be installed without charge. It might sound obvious, but get everything in writing. The different people you'll encounter will have different levels of sophistication. Some people make promises, but can't recall the conversation when it matters. Others say yes without getting approvals. Others plain lie. I walked into a listing the other day, listed by blank at blank, and his details said there were 1,400 square feet and 10-foot ceilings. The condo was 1,150 square feet and had 9-foot ceilings. This business is filled with silly people. Never forget, it only takes a GED, a week of studying, and someone brave enough to work 100% commission. There are thirsty realtors everywhere looking to make their first deal, and some unsuspecting person is going to volunteer themselves without ever fully understanding the cost of their decision. Is there someone available to make decisions? Know the chain of command. Know who your point person is. Know who is responsible for answers and hold that person accountable for what they tell you. Ask them to email anything promised over the phone or email themselves after you get off and snooze that email every day until you get a confirmation of what you were told. Do I need a home inspection on a new construction property? Absolutely. What happens at the inspection will vary based on the condition of the property. If the developer is rushing to complete the project, then you're going to have more blue tape and more things on the reports. Sometimes the developer is using your inspection as his own inspection on his GC. Other times the property has been finished, is vacant, and the builder has already conducted his own process of work review. Whatever is found by the inspector needs to be translated into a punch list, which is then agreed upon by the buyer and seller and then memorialized at the closing as being acknowledged as wrong. This is important because if after a month you move in and notice that the inside of a cabinet is damaged and there isn't any evidence that you didn't do it, you may have a difficult time getting the builder to cover it. A lot of times people move in, scratch up the walls, bang things up, and then try to use their warranty. That's not going to work. This leads to an important factor of integrity when working with anyone in this business. Things are going to break differently based on the experience, professionalism, and integrity of the builder. I've seen shady builders bankrupt their LLC instead of making valid repairs. Others seem genuinely bothered by the idea of something they built not working properly and are quick to make sure their name isn't besmirched. Work with someone with integrity. How is financing affected? New construction financing will vary depending on the product your lender is offering. This is a space where it pays to talk to as many lenders and banks as possible to see who can offer you the best product. It's not just about the rate, it's about the rate locks. They're going to vary on new construction. What that means is the lender will guarantee the promised rate for a certain period of time. What they've done is gone into the marketplace and created a contract with an investor who's going to purchase the loan. Once that period of time lapses, you or the seller will be responsible for the cost of extending the rate lock, if it's even possible. These rate lock extensions are relevant to new construction because of delays. Some banks will offer you today's rate for 6 months, while others can promise it for a year and a half. It will all vary depending on the financial vehicle and institution you choose. Builder incentives. Now, a broker or developer cannot require you to use their vendors, but they can make it worth your while. Often there will be a preferred lender on the project who will offer you an incentive for working with them. This is usually structured as a buy down of points and is the lender's attempt to increase their capture rate for the entire project. If they usually close 15% of a project without any incentive, their conversion rate will at least double once they do offer one. The developer is often contributing to this as well because it is in the developer's best interest to have one party handling all the financing so he knows what's happening with his buyers and can be alerted immediately to any changes in their ability to finance the property. It's also easier to have one point person instead of several. It just is. Incentives also occur when it's a big builder and they own the mortgage company as another revenue source. This is real. On new construction, Banks can be hesitant to lend money against an asset that isn't proven yet. Banks are in the business of owning real estate, and the last thing they want to do is give you a mortgage on a unit in a failed development. Due to that, they often require that 50% of the project be sold or under contract before they'll conduct your closing. This is a great fail-safe in case you get yourself into a contract that looked great now, but a year later isn't coming to fruition and you want out. How much are taxes going to be? Taxes are a pain point here in Chicago because they are high to begin with, but for new construction, they're even more confusing. We pay our taxes in arrears in Cook County, so we don't know what they will actually be until we own the property. That means new construction can only be guesstimated based on equations the county uses. The problem with the equation is that it makes assumptions of value. The sales price is a good indicator, but it wouldn't be the first time a property is over or undervalued than the actual sales price. Because the price is guesstimated, the taxes are paid at whatever the developer wants to put out. On this contract, it's 2.5%. On this one, it's X. And on this other one, it's Y. It will all vary depending on the sophistication of the team putting everything together, the developer and the attorney. Remember, every microtransaction within the sales purchase is an opportunity for one entity to succeed over the other. You understand me? This is a game, it's war. Some of the developers are sophisticated financiers who have put a brain trust together to create a contract that works in their favor and not yours. None of this isn't intended to deter you from new construction, but it's meant to educate you and make you realize how important it is that you work with the right team of realtors, attorneys, and inspectors to protect your best interest. The new construction contract. I wanted to dissect and break down the contracts for you, but it'll take hours. I'm working on a better way to do this. Check back later for an update. Space. Small versus large spaces. The price of everything is higher. Even at your favorite restaurant, the portion sizes have decreased and the prices have gone up. This reality has bled into everything and construction hasn't been overlooked. In Chicago, a standard size lot is 25 by 125. In most applications, what you'll find built on that size lot is a duplex down that is typically 2,300 square feet with 3 beds and 2.5 baths. All the rooms might be on the lower level, they might be split between the 2 levels, or if it's older, there may be one on the top floor and a large family room on the lower level with 2 more bedrooms. Above that, you'll find a 2-bed, 2-bath simplex, and above that, you'll find another simplex with about 100 more square feet. So basically like 12 and 13, somewhere around there. Equal number of bedrooms and exclusive access to the roof, which we have the doghouse up there. That's what we call it. Little sitting area. Usually you can put a wine fridge or something like that. A little bit of countertops, not sinks. Typically not sinks. There are limitations of a standard sized lot. You rarely see true varying designs because what you're used to seeing is the highest and best use for the lot size. Finishes might change, but you can walk most of the layouts with your eyes closed. On main streets, when you can build lot line to lot line and there is elevated zoning, these spaces get better. Same thing with irregular sized lots or in bigger properties. In the high rises being built around Chicago, as well as the mid-sized buildings, you're seeing shrinking floor plans. My favorite descriptions for these are efficient. I use it myself, I'm guilty of it, but it's true, it's an efficient floor plan. They are absent of hallways or any traditional space, but they work well enough. When you couple a tight floor plan with an exceptional address and a building that has an elevator and an attached garage, you have an interesting blend of units that will have most people overlooking the square footage shrinking. Have you ever noticed how the square footage is omitted from many listings? Or when it does exist, it's rounded up? The reason you'll rarely find the square footage on new construction listings is in case the square footage on the plans doesn't match the square footage of the building and you'll have a dispute over it. Another reason is because square footage can be misleading. I'd rather have a good floor plan that's 2,000 feet than a chopped up, full of hallway design that's 2,500. It'll also make you inquire about the details, which increases the likelihood of converting you to a buyer or at a minimum a lead. The HOAs are often not included for the same reason. If nothing is placed into the field, it won't affect your filtering and it won't create any type of sticker shock or doubt. It will likely make you wonder what it is and inquire on why. In the end, it's for risk mitigation, but benefits sales in the process. The closing. After you've endured the waiting, had your inspection, and created an agreed upon punch list with the seller, you're going to be ready to close. Post-closing, there will be an approved upon amount of time to get all the punch list items complete. You're lucky if you get to your closing and everything is complete. It rarely happens. Outside of these items, this should be a run-of-the-mill closing. You'll sign your life away to the mortgage company, and then you'll pay your monthly bill for the foreseeable future. The natural seasoning of the home. After you move in, there's going to be settling to the property. This means the home has to cure as some things expand and contract and sit in place. When this happens, you're going to have the following things occur. Nail pops. These are nails being pushed out from their home. It's not a bad thing. It's naturally going to happen. You can nail these right back in. Most builders will not come back for this though. Good ones do. Settling cracks. This is in the same vein as the nail pops. Your drywall has joints and there's mud that gives it a seamless look. Once the moisture from the air is removed in winter, they are likely going to crack. The builder won't review this either. In the same vein are your hardwood floors. If you have finished hardwood floors, it is vital you keep your humidity between 30 and 50%. If there is too much moisture, the floors will buckle and there will be cupping. If there isn't enough moisture, the floors will separate and there will be cracks and gaps in your floors. These reasons lead to the proliferation of pre-finished floors that are easier to maintain, a breeze to install, and offer a larger variety of looks when compared to finished floors, which are limited to boards, patterns, and stains. If you end up shrinking or expanding your floors due to not paying attention to your humidity, the developer is not going to fix that for you. Finishes. The renderings. These are used to paint a picture of what everything will look like when complete. If you're lucky, the rendering will be a perfect reflection of what's going to be built. When I put them together for a new construction project, I send links to every product that's going to be used in the property and hope those things are available by the time the home is complete. Sometimes they look very close and other times they don't. More times than not, they don't look identical to the finished product, but they are very, very similar. Common spaces. I like a developer who hires a designer that puts everything together so I don't have to think about it. Some want more autonomy on what the hallways, lobbies, and elevator look like. Sometimes they're smaller spaces, so it's less vital. Other times, it's large rooms with furniture and art that ultimately shape the feeling of the building. On more occasions than not, the developer is 100% responsible for this space and executes it well. Developer homework. You don't want to be the developer's first project. I've said that a few times, but I can't say it enough. Don't be a guinea pig. Many people get into real estate trying to make money, but they don't have the material knowledge, expertise, or experience in the field. To avoid this, ask the following questions. How many projects have you completed? Ask to speak to a current owner or previous purchaser. Is there a project manager? How will change orders be handled? How will out-of-stock supplies be handled? What are the appliances and mechanicals? Make sure you know the make and model of every appliance and look into them. Look at the washer dryer and fridge and see what the cubic footage is. Check if there's an ice maker or water dispenser with a filter. Is it on the inside or the outside? See what style of fridge it is. Is it counter depth, French door, top freezer, bottom freezer, or side by side? Is it paneled or is it stainless? In the show notes, I have a list of questions to ask every developer when you're looking at new construction. It's my free gift to you. Please take it. Whenever you're ready to make that leap, reach out to me. I would love to show you new construction throughout Chicago, love to advocate for you, love to make sure we find the best home for you and your family.